Meanwhile, Commerce Secretary Gina Raimondo is in Shanghai today. She's wrapping up her trip to China. The U.S. and China agreed to take steps to ease trade tensions during her trip. Raimondo announced a new bilateral forum to discuss export control measures after meeting with China's commerce minister. Raimondo also claimed that she rejected an appeal from Beijing to reduce export controls on U.S. technology, but she also said U.S. business wants to do business in China. Joining me right now with a look at communist China and doing business there is the former U.S. trade representative. He's the author of the new book, No Trade is Free. Robert Lighthizer back with me now. Robert, great to see you again. Thanks very much for joining me.
Maria, it's great to be with you.
So you had among the most tough and serious trade policies when you were with the Trump administration. I want to get your take on this administration's response to communist China with all of these provocations. Anything stand out to you from Gina Raimondo's trip so far?
Well, first of all, let's remind ourselves just how hostile of an adversary China is. I won't spend time going through the litany. You know it, most of your listeners do, but they want to be number one in the world, and we're in their way, and so they are a very hostile adversary of the United States. So the trip strikes me, to be honest, as a very soft on China policy. It's very much picking the side of investors and big importers into the United States, as opposed to small business and workers. I was surprised. She started off by telling the premier that President Biden wants to maintain our $700 billion trade relationship. Well, just to remind people, it's probably more like 800 for technical reasons that you know, this de minimis thing. And of that $800 billion, we sell about $150 billion, and they sell $650 billion. So it's more than $4 to $1. So part of what is the problem is technology, and I think they have a very soft policy, a very bad policy on technology. I don't think it's nearly broad enough. But the other thing that they miss entirely, Maria, is this notion of transferring hundreds of billions of dollars a year in trade surplus and in stolen technology to China. I mean, we literally are building their army, we're building their navy, we're building their technology. We are transferring through this business relationship that this president wants to maintain. We literally are building up their entire economy and their entire military. And to me, it just shows that they profoundly do not understand the nature of the threat that America faces right now.
Well, I think this is such a great point that you make, and we have been on this issue now for several years, the fact that the capital markets in America are wide open for communist China, that unwitting investors are actually funding all of the things that you just mentioned, like the Chinese military. Mike Gallagher, the House Select Committee on China chairman, is out with a new op-ed in the Washington Post. It's titled, "Americans Are Unwittingly Financing the CCP. It Has to Stop." Gallagher writes this: millions of Americans have become financial backers of the CCP without knowing it. Their savings are funding companies that build weapons for China's People's Liberation Army, as well as companies involved in the ongoing genocide in Xinjiang. Robert, I mean, this is the issue that I'm talking about when I say this president is so soft on China. He comes out with an executive order that is supposed to limit investment in technology, and yet it doesn't begin for a year. It's incredibly narrow, and the capital markets are completely left out and left open. Why did Joe Biden send a memorandum of understanding? He signed this MOU back in 2014, which allowed thousands of Chinese companies to trade on our U.S. exchanges and not follow SEC accounting rules. So what is your reaction to all of these funds that have opportunities for investors to buy into Chinese stocks, which are actually companies tied to the Chinese military?
So there's kind of two issues. One, there is an issue as to whether or not the investments themselves are even safe, because we don't have the first bit of information about most of these companies. Second, there's the national security issue, which you mentioned. But third, there is this issue of transferring wealth to the Chinese Communist Party. I mean, I think it is hard to believe, but I think that this administration is, and I take the secretary at her word. She said she was there to encourage more business and, quote, more investment. And she squeezed that in between, trips to Disney World and rides on the fast train. I mean, the Chinese are going to look at this visit and they're going to assume that President Biden is going to run for re-election on a pro-China policy. China's not a threat policy. And this notion of that you can protect just a handful of technologies and that will defend you on a national security basis is just fundamentally wrong. We need a total technological disentanglement with China. We can't go on in a situation where they're stealing our technology. Do you realize every few hours the FBI starts an espionage case against China?
That's right.
Every few hours. This is not just normal business.
That's right.
And this administration does not seem to understand the nature of this threat. They think it's, they literally on the side of the billionaire investor class. And not on the side in New York and in California, and not on the side of American workers and the small businesses that are the ones that are being affected by this very, very unbalanced economic relationship. We need some kind of strategic decoupling.
Yeah, you make such a good point. Absolutely no response to the massive provocations. The Anthony Blinken, the Secretary of State, goes to China as he's getting ready to go and packing his bags. They're hacking into the State Department. They hacked into the Commerce Department so that they could understand exactly what the plan was for Anthony Blinken even before he got there. While John Kerry was still on the ground there, Xi Jinping comes out and says, nobody's going to tell us what to do with our climate. All of this just a month after they flew a spy balloon into America and was able to send information back to the Communist Party about our military installations. For God's sakes, the Treasury Secretary went to Beijing and they fed her psychedelic mushrooms, hallucinogenics, and yet we just keep going back for more talks. And she's bowing like crazy when she meets her counterpart. And we don't even know if the information that the CCP is giving us is true. Let's talk about this trade data. You can see through June of this year, the U.S. has exported over $72 billion of goods to China and imported nearly $203 billion in goods from China. I spoke with former President Trump about your trade policy and his trade policy, and he underlined your policies on tariff as being the way to push back on Communist China. He joined me last month. Watch this. Would you be prepared to attack the economic relationship that we have with China? For example, the capital markets are wide open for Communist China, and unwitting investors are basically funding the expansion of the CCP. Would you put limits in place in terms of what Americans can buy?
So I did something better. I did tremendous tariffs. We took in hundreds of billions of dollars, tariffs and taxes. So when China, which was just dumping everything into our country, steel and everything. They were dumping steel at a level that was going to put our steel mills out of business, which is what they wanted. I saved the steel industry. We were dead. And I taxed a 50% tax on dumping steel. And then they start sending it through other countries, and we caught them. And they start sending it through Canada.
Robert, many of these ideas were your ideas in terms of taxes and tariffs. Is that the way to push back? What about capital markets? Is former President Trump not willing to do that?
Look at. We need. First of all, we have to have a phased-in, clear policy of strategic decoupling. And that includes, across the board, it includes, number one, we need substantial tariffs, as former President Trump said, to get back to balance. Two, we have to disentangle our technology so that future technology is not dependent. Our defense industry is dependent on China. So we're hiring these people to make weapons for us, and they're dependent on the very person we would use in situations where it helps the United States. It can't be in situations where it helps them. And it's the capital markets, but it's also these individual investors. We should have a clear policy where if they invest here, it's in our interest, and that's very rarely. And if we invest there, it's in the interest of the United States. And by the way, Maria, this is precisely the policy that China has towards us.
That's right.
Strategic decoupling with Chinese characteristics. We should have reciprocity. And the notion that this current administration would run for re-election on a pro-China platform is, to me, breathtaking.
It is breathtaking. And real quick before you go, Robert, should we believe what the Chinese say about their economy? I mean, wouldn't now be the right time to do it, given the fact that it seems to me that the economy there is a lot weaker than they're letting on?
The economy is weak. I think that's true. But for me, I would do it if their economy was good, bad, or indifferent. Yeah. I think it's in America's interest.
All right. We will leave it there. Robert, always a pleasure. Good to see you, sir. Thank you.